Hey everyone, this is Nick Despotidis here in Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining me today for another episode. We're going to be discussing multi-units. That includes duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes, the four, when selling. So what do you have to do? You have this great big asset. Should I sell? And when I do make that decision, what do I have to line up? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So make sure you join me and watch the whole time, like and subscribe. All right, duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes. You own one and it's a pain in the butt, or it's time to sell. I have a client and a few clients that have decided to move on from multi-units. One being, it's a troubled tenant. They have that one tenant that was paying, but when he left it in shambles. It was a duplex right here off of H Street in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. The house was getting $2,600 for the upper unit and $2,600 for the lower unit. That's $5,200, and the mortgage was only $2,000, so he was cash flowing fine. The only issue was, you guessed it, the tenant. Similarly, I have a client looking to sell a 4-unit, so double the amount of chances to have a tenant issue, and this one tenant is paying below market rent. So there's 4 units, market rent is $2,000. This client's tenant was paying $700. So their incentive is like, no way, I'm staying for a while. So what do you do when you want to sell, whether you have a troubled tenant or it's time to sell? Well, the first thing I do with my clients is have an onboarding process. I want to make sure that I cover everything that there is to know about the property. This will not only help me in the value, but also the rentability, right? Because other people are going to want to see if it could be rented or not. Also about vacancy and how important that is for other investors, whether it should be vacant or occupied. We'll also talk about their timeline, when they want to sell and whether they want to transfer it, do a 1031 exchange, or on my end, how long it's going to take to sell based on the current situation, the tenants, and the market, and the price that they want. Then how is the transfer going to happen from one property management company, the security deposits and the rent, to another? Also some legal forms that we have to present the tenants to. That's a big one, and how to approach that. And DC tenants, for anything more than 2 units, 2 to more units, they have to be issued the tenant opportunity to purchase. And that's a law that you have to do, and you have to really maneuver that properly, how to legally approach or get them to sign off on it for title. And repairs. What repairs or updates should we do before selling? It's always a conversation we have. Will I get more money if I repair these units? We'll find out. So again, value, how much it costs. We go through rent, how much you're getting rent. Vacancy, whether they should be vacant or occupied, your timeline, how to transfer, repairs and updates, and then legal stuff. The least favorite is TOPA. So if you own in DC a multi-unit and you're thinking about selling, the first thing we have to talk about is the tenant situation. If there is a tenant in there, there are 2 options. We could either let them know formally or informally if we're selling, and we could do that at the time of sale. We could approach them with what's called a Form B. And basically it says, I am selling the property, landlord, and you have the opportunity to purchase tenant at this price. Let's say it's, $500,000. So legally the tenants have the rights to purchase the property for the price. Now, of course, landlord, you don't want to over ask and say $1 million and no, it's 500,000, because it has to be at a fair market value, what you're offering them for. So you can't put a outrageous number for the tenants to buy. Then the tenants could organize. So if there's 4 tenants, they could organize and get a loan and buy it, or they could buy it on their own, get a loan, and they could buy that for them. So there's a process that they would have. If they don't want to purchase the property, they assign their TOPA rights. So they're saying, hey, I'm not interested, and I am no longer interested in this process. You could then assign my rights to either the buyer or the seller for some sort of concession. So in DC, if you're selling a duplex, triplex, or quadplex, you actually have to pay as a landlord for those rights in concession, usually $500. I mean, if you didn't hear about this in DC, I don't know where you are, but in DC, all tenants know that they're going to get paid or solicited to buy their rights. And why is that? because to have clear title, so when you find a buyer and go to closing, you're ready to offload that $500,000 property. But then the title has to check out that all the TOPA is signed off on this, or else you can't sell the property. It won't have clean title. So if it doesn't have clean title, unfortunately, you can't sell the property. And if someone else buys the rights of the tenants, then they have the right to purchase. Wait, Nick, back up. You're saying that someone else could buy my tenant's rights? So a tenant could sell their rights? Yes, tenants sell their rights all the time to a third party that negotiates a little bit harder or sells the rights back to the seller for more money. Yes, is this fair? Yes, these agencies should advocate for the tenant to make sure that they could purchase and they're not moving out. But it is a big thing that you have to talk about with your realtor when selling a duplex, quadplex, or even a house in DC. If you own a house and had tenants before 2018, you still have to do this process.